payments on increased foreign exchange rate.
The government need to conclude. The whole cloud surrounding what they are doing should be explained to the Nigerians. So we need to tell them the truth. That's why we are the labor union. They are subsidizing the product, so they need to come to tell Nigerians that they are doing that and they explain to those who are the stakeholders. Because the product landing cost has increased, the marketers will always do what they are doing. So it's expected that the scarcity being envisaged will be there, but there is no clear reason for that.
Mr. Oke also maintained that fixing the nation's refineries will help solve the issue of subsidy completely.
Assuming we are refining locally and the forex doesn't have any impact on us, we will see that the market prices will drive down the price. But now we are importing and the forex exchange is skyrocketing. You can agree with me that no marketer will buy products at a high cost and sell at a cheaper rate. The government is stepping in to bridge the gap between what the exchange rate should be, has been, assuming we are at the rate when we had the subsidy removal. But now, crude oil price has gone up. Before now, it was around 78, 79 per dollar. Today, is above 90, and those also drives the price of refined product.
I recall that President Bola Tinubu announced the removal of fuel subsidy in his inaugural speech on the 29th of May. Following the announcement, the NNPCL directed its outlets nationwide to sell petrol between 480 and 570 naira per litre, leading to significant increase in transportation fares and prices of goods and services. Again, in July, petrol pump price rose to 617 naira per litre at various outlets of the NNPCL in Abuja and other parts of the country. At the time, the NNPCL attributed the rise in the petroleum pump price in the country to market forces. Moving on, some residents of Port Harcourt have commended the decision of the River State Governor Siminalayi Fubara to revive the Songhai Farms entire local government area. The residents, in an interview with our correspondent, said that reviving the Songhai Farm will help ensure a boost in agricultural products as well as to address the unemployment concerns in the area.
It's a very welcome development. The governor have already done that for a year, almost 8 years. That one now will make life.
If they bring a local production, because the hardship.
First, our family too will go up again. That cannot reduce the inflation rate because goods and services all hinge on this first subsidy. To do it, they are able to provide for their family.
I recall that Governor Fubara over the weekend says the decision to revive the Songhai farms is to diversify the economy into agriculture and help reduce insecurity.
What are the advantages when we have put such as employment will also be there? Talk about youth responsiveness. When you have employment for the youth, do they need to come and disturb anymore? It's about our plan. At least, let me say, immediate plan. There might be other long-term plan about this place, but this is the first thing we need to do.
In another development, the federal government has suspended the N-Power program indefinitely. The Minister of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Alleviation, Betta Edu, said the suspension was a result of some irregularities observed within the scheme. Dr. Edu said in an interview that the investigation will be launched into how funds were spent since the beginning of the program.
Monies were being held by the consultant from early this year up until August without paying beneficiaries. And the question was, why are you paying them in trickles when you have monies enough to pay everybody who at least you're owed for a certain amount of months? And so all of these were all the gray areas we had with the Empower. And at this point, for investigations to go on fully without any form of obstruction, we had to suspend the N-Power.
She said the N-Power program will be restructured.
We are going to be using the local governments. And the reason is so that we can take it as far down to the grassroots as possible. But we are going to have a unified payment for everyone who will come on the scheme. We are still working that out. It's still a work in progress. We have made certain proposals. We have proposals of 50,000. We have proposals of 60,000, and some have said that we should wait until we have that agreement on what the new minimum wage is and then pay them according to the new minimum wage. So that's all the discussion that we have on the table while we are restructuring.
The Minister of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Alleviation also said the federal government will launch the conditional cash transfer policy for 50 million households on the 17th of October. She said the ministry is working with stakeholders across the country to get a credible register of beneficiaries. While admitting that some people on the register may have died or moved up the economic ladder, the minister said the verification exercise is to clean up the register. Away from that, the APC yesterday flagged up its campaign for the Kogi governorship election, with President Bola Tinubu eyeing 500,000 jobs from the Ajaokuta Steel Complex. President Tinubu, who was represented at the event by Vice President Kashim Shettima, said the Ajaokuta Steel Complex will bring investment into Nigeria and boost the country's economy. He said the project will have the capacity to employ 500,000 Nigerians once designated as a free trade zone. INEC says it is concerned that despite notices, political parties are yet to substantially comply by submitting the list of their agents ahead of the November 11 governorship elections in Bayelsa, Imo, and Kogi states. The Commission's head of information and voter education, Sam Olumeku, said this in a statement. The Commission also reminded political parties that the portal will automatically shut down at 12 midnight tomorrow and there will be no extension. It urged all parties sponsoring candidates for the elections that have yet to upload the list of their agents to do so before the deadline. In other news, the Christian Association of Nigeria, CAN, has warned the federal government against negotiating with bandits and terrorists or granting them amnesty. The Secretary of CAN Northwest Zone, Sunday Oibe, issued the warning while reacting to an allegation that some officials of the federal government were negotiating with bandits in Zamfara state. He said if the federal government cannot fight terrorism, it should look outside for help. Some students of Moshood Abiola Polytechnic at Abeokuta, Ogun State today gathered at their school gates to protest the hike in the acceptance fee paid by newly admitted students, among other issues. The students who trooped out of the campus gate as early as 7 a.m. held placards with inscriptions like "No to increment of tuition fee," "Rector must go," "Release our result ASAP," among others. Security officers were present at the scene of the protest. Well, still to come, NEMA issues fresh alert to states as Cameroon opens Lagdo Dam. Stay tuned.
Nigeria Info,
the hub for information,
current affairs, and more. President
National Emergency Management Agency NEMA Mustafa Ahmed has called on state and local governments along rivers, Niger and Benue basin areas to immediately activate their emergency response plans to avert potential damage and losses that will arise due to excessive flooding. Speaking during an emergency meeting in Abuja, Mr. Ahmed said the flood disaster that has affected Adamawa State since October 4th was a result of the sudden release of water from the Lagdo Dam in Cameroon. The NEMA DG said other states to be affected are Taraba, Benue, Nasarawa, Kogi, Anambra, Edo, Delta, and Bayelsa states. He said that those in those states, flood waters have the potential to wash away valuable infrastructure and croplands. 90.3 Nigeria Info FM has emerged as the winner of the Best Startup Coverage Radio category at the Startup Awards. It is in recognition of the station's contribution to the growth of the startup ecosystem in Nigeria, especially in the South, and Southeast. Speaking at the two-day Startup South Conference held in Port Harcourt, the convener of Startup South 8, Uche Aniche, said that the conference was aimed at expanding the regional startup ecosystem through discussions with startups and experts in the tech ecosystem.
We want to be able to grow wealth and grow opportunities for our teeming young population. And the only way we can do that is to build something big. We can only build something big when we engage innovation and when we engage technology. And that is what the things that we Startup South, it's about. This year's the biggest we've had so far. We believe that next year Startup South 9 is going to be bigger.
And now the business news.
Now to business. The Organization of Petroleum Export Countries, OPEC cartel, says it expects demand for crude to continue to grow for the next 2 decades despite mounting efforts to limit climate change. OPEC, in its 2023 annual report, forecast demand for crude to reach 116 million barrels per day by 2045. That is an increase of 6 million barrels per day from its estimate last year. OPEC chief Haitham Al-Ghai said the world will continue to need more energy in the decades to come. In entertainment, celebrity chef Michael Chiarello has died suddenly after suffering an allergic reaction. The former Food Network star died on Saturday while being treated at the Queen of the Valley Medical Center in Napa, California. His company said he was hospitalized as a result of a fatal allergy attack. I beg your pardon. In sports, the UK and the Republic of Ireland are set to be announced as host of the 2028 European Championships at the UEFA meeting in Switzerland on Tuesday. The five-nation bid is now running unopposed after Turkey withdrew from the process last week. And finally, from the international scene, Israel's defense minister has ordered a complete siege of Gaza Strip. Minister Yoav Gallant says no electricity, food, or fuel should cross through the border. As you may know, Israel controls the airspace over Gaza and its shoreline and restricts who and what goods are allowed in and out through its border crossings. Rocket attacks on Israel from Gaza have continued, with explosions heard in Jerusalem. Meanwhile, the U.S. says it is moving an aircraft carrier, ships, and jets to the eastern Mediterranean and will also give Israel additional equipment and ammunition. A U.S. national security spokesperson said several U.S. citizens were among the dead. And that was the news this afternoon. But before we depart, a quick recap. Pangason is asking the federal government to come clean on payments for fuel subsidy. Rivers residents have reacted to the plan by Governor Fubara to revive Songhai Farm's entire local government area. The federal government is to restructure its N-Power program. NEMA has issued a fresh alert to states as Cameroon opens Lagdo Dam. And on the foreign scene, Israel has ordered a complete siege of Gaza. The news was edited by Martha Okere in Kem. Mostly cloudy weather in Port Harcourt is expected this afternoon with temperatures of 27 and 30 degrees centigrade. Please be advised. To reach the news team, send an SMS or WhatsApp to 0808 721 721 Peace is the path to the prosperity of a nation. Let peace reign. Jude Omamegbe. Thank you for this afternoon. And have a wonderful day. Coming up after the break, the sunny side of conversations. Good afternoon.